All right, we're back here on Titans Talk. Phone lines still open, 737-7767. Tony is phoned in. Tony, good evening. You're next up here on Titans Talk.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you for taking the call.
You bet.
I think for weeks you've been talking about the Titans. They upgraded their defense, offense, or whatever. The Titans, they don't have the upright cornerbacks. They made plays all over them, just made them look silly. And when they move that ball up and down the field that easy on the Titans are in trouble. These cornerbacks are too small, undersized, and can't fight for the ball. They just stand there and just look. You have to have defense. Defense wins games. You've seen that yesterday. Defense played a huge part in this game yesterday. They got the ball back to the Raiders. The Raiders moved the ball up and down the field with ease. Tennessee, they should have got some inspiration from Tennessee Vols, but they didn't. As long as you don't have defense, the Titans in a world of trouble. And as for Mariota, he getting pro football contract money. If you don't know how to tuck the ball away when you scramble, you don't need to be on the field. He should have pulled him off the field. He could always put it back on the field, whether you like it or not, or whoever else called him behind me. You could always put that man back on that field when he gets his mind together and gets reassessed. I told you Bill Purcell used to do it all the time. But you should have pulled that man off the field. And as far as that offensive tackle, he could have injured his own player going down there to the end zone to try to push that man in. He should have been fined and should have been leveraged to fine against him. He maybe should be benched because he could have injured his own player.
All right, Tony, thanks for the call. That's the question about Lewan. It certainly was a reckless play at that time of the game. And I think with Mariota, I don't think he's going to get benched because I think you just rarely see that in the NFL, and the Titans have such a degree of confidence in him that, you know, the first one yesterday, you kind of say, okay, you need to be better than that. The second one goes into halftime. The third one then is in the fourth quarter when you desperately need drives. You can't really afford to take your quarterback out for a few plays unless something's truly wrong with them. And so I don't think you're going to see that, but he's got to be better. There's no question about that, and they're going to make that point today when they watch film and throughout the week as they go through practice. He has got to be better at protecting the football, both when he's running and when he's throwing it. As far as the defense goes, I don't know what more you want. This defense has allowed 3 touchdowns in 3 weeks. 3 touchdowns in 3 weeks. If you do that consistently, you should win games. Is it the greatest defense ever? Is it the steel curtain? Or the purple people eaters or something like that in Minnesota? No, it's not that. It's not that yet. They have weaknesses in the secondary. Parrish Cox did not have a good game yesterday. Bryce McCain had a terrible play on the touchdown before halftime. But if you take away a few mistakes like that, this defense has played remarkably well through 3 weeks. They've kept them in games when the offense was struggling. They've given them chances to win. And yesterday, the Titans had more yards than the Raiders did. That's the #1 offense in football coming into Nissan Stadium, and the Titans outgained them yesterday because of the effort of that defense. There are a couple plays that obviously they'd love to have back. You can't let those plays happen, and they know it. And there are weaknesses in the secondary that teams are going to continue to pick on and try to exploit. But through 3 weeks of this season, as the Titans stand here at 1-2, defense isn't the area that I would pick on of why this team is in trouble. For the most part, they've done their job so far. Crazy ending to the game yesterday, obviously, as the Titans tried to drive the field for a second consecutive week. John Burton in the locker room after the game details the final drive that this week went wrong.
1 week after engineering a game-winning drive in Detroit, Marcus Mariota struggled Sunday against the Raiders. The Titans QB threw 2 interceptions and lost a fumble in the 17-10 loss to Oakland.
You know, I can do a better job of just taking it one play at a time, not trying to win the game on one throw. But again, it's a process for me, and I'm doing my best to learn.
But despite the turnovers and missed assignments on defense, the Titans were still in position to tie the game with one final drive in the fourth quarter. But two huge penalties did end the two-tone blue. After a Mariota to Tajay Sharp pass down to the 2, offensive tackle Taylor Lewan was called for unnecessary roughness after hitting the pile late.
I was going to clear the pile to help. A bunch of guys jumping. If some bunch of guys were jumping on you and I was the only one to help you, wouldn't you want me to help you? No, I'm bummed out, but I was just doing what I thought was right.
No, we just playing through the whistle. Whatever happened, just happened.
Then just 3 plays later, Mariota threw what looked to be the game-tying touchdown pass to Andre Johnson. But Johnson was called for offensive pass interference, and the score was nullified.
I turned around and saw the flag, and I knew the DB had failed, so they called offensive pass interference.
Then on 4th down from the Raiders' 12-yard line, Mariota threw incomplete to Harry Douglas, despite there being plenty of contact in the end zone.
I mean, there's contact almost on every play in the NFL, every play of the game. But just why on that play?
The bottom line, the Titans are just not yet good enough to overcome penalties and mistakes. They need to stop beating themselves.
Got to cut the penalties, and that's definitely hurting us. So that's just some things you got to work on yourself in practice. So that's definitely what's hurting us in the long run.
All right, thank you, John. I think John's last track there in the story sums it up well. The Titans just are not good enough right now to overcome mistakes. 3 turnovers in both losses. 20 penalties the last 2 weeks. 8 yesterday. 2 on the final drive when you're in the red zone. This is not a team that can overcome that stuff. It's a team that's gotten more competitive. The defense is pretty good now. The offense shows flashes. But there's still too many holes. They can't overcome those mistakes. And until they clean those mistakes up, there's going to be more disappointing days like yesterday. Time for our final break. We'll be back after this.